Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Cesar A. Adigue IV, Education Supervisor 2 of CHEDRO 11. Today is August 11, 2020, and I welcome you to this webinar number 9 entitled Remote Integrity and Accountability via Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube live streaming. This webinar is organized by CHEDRO 11. And what is unique in this webinar is that we will be hearing from an author of various genres, recognized not only locally, nationally, but also internationally. May we ask everyone to sit tight as we start the program with a prayer.
Dear Father in heaven, thank you for the many blessings that you've given us. Thank you for life and love and our friends and family, Lord. And thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for loving us and giving us peace when all the world can feel like chaos. Lord, we pray today for those in the world who face adversities that we can't begin to imagine. We ask that you be with those who are scared or hungry or lonely and help them to feel the comfort of your Holy Spirit. We ask, Lord, that you provide for all those in need both physically and emotionally, Lord, and give them hope for tomorrow, Father. We ask that you be with our leaders and guide them to make good decisions that will make this world a better and more secure place to live. And Lord, help calm the anxieties in our minds about the future and help us to remember your love for us and your promise to never abandon us. Help our hearts to be filled with compassion as we reach out to those around us. Help us, Lord, to be salt and light in the world as we share your love with all those around us. Please continue to lead us and guide us and direct us, revealing to us your perfect will for our lives, Lord. It is in Jesus' precious name that we pray. Amen.
Indeed, O Lord, we thank you for this day. And to help us understand the rationale and the opening remarks for this activity, help me welcome our dynamic Director 4 of CHED 11, Dr. Maricar Ramos Casquejo.
Thank you to all of you, wherever you are, who are watching, listening to CHED 11's 9th webinar. I hope you're always in the best of health. Good morning, everyone. My acknowledgement to the faculty members and personnel of the various higher education institutions, not just in Davao region, but all throughout our country. To the men and women of the CHED 11 technical team, headed by Dr. Luis D. Perez, and the administrative team, headed by Dr. Emma K. Bonsobre, with special mention to Engineer Rod Pangantihon, Dr. Cesar Adigue IV, and Engineer Maria Cristina Condes, education supervisors of this office, who are spearheading the conduct of this 9th webinar. Thank you once again, Picari Prime, for the Zoom account. For those who cannot log in the Zoom, we are also live in Facebook, and you can also download all our webinars in the CHED 11 YouTube channel. Today, CHED 11 is honored to have our distinguished resource person in the person of no other than Dr. Ronnie V. Amorado, the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs of the University of Mindanao. Among his other designations, let us know more about him as he will be properly introduced later. Thank you so much, Dr. Ronnie, for sharing with us your time and expertise. We are deeply honored. Dr. Amorado has written several books, and I am proud to say that I used some of his books as references. To name the Literature Review in the Current Purview, which he wrote in 2015. Another book is Qualitative Research, A Practical Approach, which she wrote in 2016, and Quantitative Research, A Practical Approach, which she wrote in 2017. These are very useful references, simply written and easily understood. I hope you can also include these books as your references in your research-related courses. Let us patronize our very own local authors. I have also read his latest book, Very Pathetic, Practical Lessons on Leadership, with 134 lessons on leadership and management. This book is easy to relate with and also a very good reference on leadership and management topics. These are just some books he has written. So thank you, Dr. Amorado, for your contributions, for giving us useful references. Dr. Ronnie B. Amorado will discuss and give us insights on remote integrity and accountability. Considering that remote online classes are proliferating, how do we detect and prevent cheating and academic frauds online? What strategies can schools employ to preserve remote integrity and accountability? These are just some of his talking points. So feel free to listen and discuss your thoughts with him. As CHEDRO 11 continues to serve its stakeholders and as we continue to live by our tagline, We Find Solutions, we are hoping for your usual support and cooperation to whatever initiative our office will do, especially in these trying times. Please do watch, listen, attend, or participate again our remaining webinars. While taking into account the safety of our personnel, students, and other stakeholders, and without compromising the quality of the learning experiences of the students and our commitments to academic excellence, together as one united institutions of higher education in Davao region, we are ready for the new normal. Thank you everyone for making yourselves available. Have a productive webinar and keep safe always.
Thank you very much, Dr. Casquejo, for such well-thought opening remarks. Now, for a meaningful and productive webinar, please be guided by the following. First, you may encode your questions to the speaker at any time in the public chat. All encoded received questions will be gathered and answered during the Q&A session. Second, for technical and quality purposes, only the speakers will be able to use their microphones during the session. Third, if you will be unable to enter the Zoom room, the webinar can still be viewed through Facebook Live at www.facebook.com/chedro11 and YouTube Live at youtube.com/CHED Regional Office 11. Number 4, to receive the electronic certificate of participation, you need to fill out the online evaluation. The evaluation link will be given at the end of the webinar by the moderator. It will be closed 2 hours after the session ended. Number 5, those watching via Facebook or YouTube Live can still receive a certificate if they are registered participants and able to accomplish the online evaluation within the specified time duration. So to apprise you of what will happen this morning, allow us to pause the program of activities. So it is a half-day activity, and I know that you are all busy, but this particular activity will allow us to understand that we are also accountable to things that we are doing, about to do, and will be doing. Ladies and gentlemen, Our speaker, Dr. Ronnie V. Amorado, is a passionate researcher and prolific literature, an award-winning book author, and an unconventional academic. He has been in the academe in various capacities as a mentor, professor, director, and academic vice president. He is a Hubert H. Humphrey Fellow in the United States, where he did his postdoctorate research at the Maxwell School of Citizenship in Syracuse University, New York. He authored and co-authored several books in various genres, like leadership and citizenship, such as Kakistocracy and Peripatetic. Second, corruption and anti-corruption, such as Ahem, Aha, and Fixing Society. And third, research techniques such as literary and practical research. And fourth, biographical research such as One Man's Vision and Lord Anthony. He was awarded Outstanding Book Award in 2008 by the National Academy of Science and Technology, and the World Distinguished Book Author Award in 2013 by the International Association of Multidisciplinary Research. In 2015, he was awarded the Best Asian Book for Teaching Research by the Asian Society of Teachers of Research. Because of his accumulated scholarly work for the past 2 decades, Dr. Amorado was bestowed the 2019 Leaders and Achievers of Davao, or LEAD, Award by the Junior Chamber International Senate Davao and the Davao JC Senate Foundation. Dr. Ronnie V. Amorado has been regularly invited to lecture on academic management, leadership development, ethical leadership, and leadership integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, to speak on remote integrity and accountability, help me welcome Dr. Ronnie V. Amorado.
Thank you very much, Cesar. Thank you. I'd like to greet everyone. Good morning. I've seen familiar faces, but I understand we are also nationwide. So I'd like to greet all of you. Good morning, and I hope you will enjoy our session as we are facing a very important part of our history, no, during the pandemic period. Let me just share my screen for now. Okay. Okay. I'd like to make mention that this topic is also part of the ASEAN celebration for the month of August, no, spearheaded also by the Commission of Higher Education. This topic is all about remote integrity and accountability. Why is it called as remote integrity and accountability? Let me address these 3 important problems, no, as part of our problematic. No. Because of the pandemic period, online classes, remote online classes, distance education, all of these have been promoted and in fact dominating the discourse in delivery of instructional learning in all of the HEIs in the country. Much of the articulation about remote teaching and distance education, modes of delivery during the pandemic period actually only focuses on their promotion. But we also need to highlight the precaution about remote academic fraud and cheating in online classes. If you notice, rarely academic fraud or cheating in online classes has been discussed as part of the discourse. And remote teaching exacerbates academic fraud, and cheating online is even more widespread and uncontrollable in remote programs. Technology can make or break the integrity of remote teaching and learning. During the pandemic period, there are about 9 or 10 learning modes as part of the discourse. No? Of course, the traditional is the residential learning. Okay, this is the face-to-face in campus or off campus, no? Or on campus. No? But we also have learned and heard about online learning, which is via the internet, technology-aided learning, which is learning with the use of electronic and digital technology. We also heard of remote learning, which is learning from afar, no? Normally physically distant. We also heard of blended learning, no? Which is learning by combining two or more types of learning, normally residential and online. In fact, if we look at the literature, when we speak of blended learning, it only refers to the residential and online or distance, meaning the distance learning shall compose of all of the other types other than residential learning. But now, because of this concept of flexible learning, which is already expanding, it's basically making use of the other modes of learning, even without the residential learning. Because as we all know, the face-to-face learning is still prohibited until now. We have also learned of course, the flexible learning as learning with flexibility in the teaching learning activities, but also in delivery modes. We have also heard of virtual learning, okay, as learning by simulation. It is like as if like what is real. No? Example given here, if we have heard of virtual lab or virtual class or even virtual meeting. So it's like simulation as if it is the real thing. No? We have distance learning, which is learning other than the residential F2F mode, learning in different time and space. Certainly, we have this modular learning, which is applied to offline mode or as offline remedy, no? And using learning modules. So all of these are dominantly overlapping. In fact, many are confused to mean as the others. But if you will notice, we have the residential learning and all the others, no, as part of the distance education. But of course, we have to take cognizance of the Republic Act, no, about distance education and the CHED CMOs, no, in DE. But for now, because of the pandemic period, I think those are being relaxed, no, for now. No? Some pedagogical application or dilemmas here. Of course, we all know not all remote are online, not all distance are online, not all blended are hybrid, not all online are done through the learning management systems or LMS. Not all online are video conferencing. Not all virtual are online. Not all distance are technology aided. Not all modular are technology aided. And not all or residential may or may not be technology aided as well. And all remote are distance. The question now that begs to be reflected on is that, are all distance remote? Okay, the literature is not able to respond for that for now. Now, for example, if you are just at the other building in the same campus, is that already considered as distance? If you will be very strict in the definition, maybe yes. No? But I think the spirit of that really is that from afar, physically, no? In time and space. Okay, but these dilemmas should have been addressed, no? in various discussions on remote teaching and learning. Okay, we also heard of course, no, about synchronous learning and asynchronous learning. Okay, we all know that as per definition, synchronous learning is learning simultaneously together. Okay, learning at the same time but different learning environments, not just in space. And asynchronous learning is learning in different time and learning environment, no? Again, not just in space. However, if you will notice, dishonest students make asynchronous learning most vulnerable to frauds in online classes, no? Including even modular classes. Okay, including even modular classes. This morning, I heard from the news, no, DepEd dominantly will make use of modular classes. And their logistical strategy is that every week the parents will be the one to pick up the modules and submit the requirements or assignments to the school every week. The question now is that how can you ensure that the students, the high school students, are the ones responding to the modular assignments? Okay, it can easily be vulnerable to cheating. Okay, so if you are really dishonest, the most vulnerable here is the asynchronous learning. Add this to the problem. Okay, anecdotally speaking, some sharing at random by some college students reveals that they are not learning in asynchronous sessions, especially when they are left alone. Okay, so the question here is that if students are not learning, the integrity of remote online classes is also diminishing. So we speak here of the integrity of the system. Okay, and remote online classes, especially asynchronous sessions, need some level of cohort maturity for self-directed learning, and this is the essential intent of distance education. Apparently, the integrity of distance education, remote online teaching included, is that it requires some level of cohort maturity, and that includes good conduct and proper conduct. And the challenge to integrity is that when students do not learn but want to pass, what do they resort to? They will resort to cheating. Okay, let me quote some perspectives here. Online courses and exams certainly make it easier for dishonest students to cheat. Anonymity and distance of the internet, in fact, made it easier for students to cheat. And let us be clear, no assessment is uncheatable, whether online or not. But in online, it's more exacerbated. So no assessment is uncheatable. Uh, uh, our officer in the school for student assessment also said, remote examinations pose much pressure to assessment reliability, and teachers might find it not easy to validate and evaluate the integrity of exam results. Let's look at some empirical data, and I'd like to announce that most of my empirical data come from the US. Online education is already poised to be $100 billion global industry. That's last as of 2015, and still growing until now. And cheating in online classes is now a big business. Okay, very important to note of this. Cheating in online classes is now a big business. And a higher education survey in the US with more than 2,000 college professors and administrators revealed that about 60% believe that academic fraud is more common in online courses than in face-to-face courses. Meaning, online classes will provide worse avenues for academic frauds. In another study about online schools, okay, shows that 32% or 33% admit to cheating in online classes, and 32% admit to cheating in live classrooms. Pare-pareha lang, no? And then only 2% caught online cheating. It's very low. Okay, so compared to the admission of about 30%. In a Kessler student survey in the US also, in 2017, revealed 76% said they copied texts from somebody else's assignment in online, and 79% admitted to plagiarism from internet sources. 22% used mobile devices to cheat. Apparently, cell phones especially, mobile devices are the favorites, tools for cheating online. And 42% said they purchased custom papers or essays online. Easy, very easy. And 28% said they paid even for a service to take their online classes for them. Okay. In a McAfee study, okay, 1 in 3 American students use mobile phones or other connected devices to cheat on exams. Okay. I don't know if we have this kind of data in the Philippines, but in the US, in a 2020 data, 1 in 3 American students use mobile phones to cheat on exams. So what? Okay, so what? While we delight on the promotion of remote teaching and learning, we need to be aware of and prepare for its precaution. Okay, we need to be cautioned properly, especially for our teachers who labor in developing and designing their online materials. Remote integrity and accountability is the ethical foundation of a strong and vibrant remote teaching and learning programs. Okay, let that basically be visit no? The essence of what integrity is. No? It's a late 14th century origin coming from the French integrité and the Latin integritas. There are hundreds, even thousands of definitions, okay, overlapping, but if you will look at and analyze the structure of these definitions, you'll be able to come up with three fundamental, distinct definitions. Okay, and then the first two, or the first definition is more of a normative definition, and the second and third definitions are more of the structural. Okay, the first definition is referring to steadfast adherence to a strict moral or ethical code of conduct, meaning doing what is good and being aware of what is bad. And the second and third definition, which are all structural, refer to the state of being unimpaired or soundness or undamaged, or the quality or condition of being whole, undivided or unbroken, intact and complete. So when we speak of the integrity of online classes, we don't only speak of integrity of students or teachers in their conduct, but also integrity of the entire system, including internet connectivity, including the proper use of remote teaching and learning activities. So both normative and structural definitions of integrity. There are many references and even metaphors on integrity. For example, integrity as a building construction, integrity of data and information. Of course, we have integrity of relationships. We also refer of integrity of environment, or integrity as a compass, which guide posts or even provide benchmarks, reference, direction, or goal. And several others when we refer to artistic integrity, okay, even professional integrity, even structural integrity, even financial integrity. We have political integrity, especially now as we speak always the pervading issue of relationship with China, and our territorial integrity for the claim of our lands or seas. And intellectual integrity rights, that's part of the integrity, even technological integrity, okay, systems integrity, and cultural integrity, and the highest form of integrity, referring to moral integrity, okay, as being upright, uncorrupted, and even probity. So what are the relationships of these different metaphors and meanings of integrity? Here we can classify them into two, referring to secular integrity and moral integrity. So all of the metaphors I previously mentioned, they all belong to secular integrity, meaning it's amoral. They can be used for what is good and otherwise. But when we intend to use them for what is good and for the common good, then that is moral integrity. Here I'd like to emphasize, especially in the Oriental concept of integrity, integrity is not enough to refer only for what is good to the individual. It should also refer to what is good for the common good. Because sometimes, or even oftentimes, what is good for the individual has to stop, to give way for what is good for the common good. And this is very important now for the pandemic period. The wearing of the face mask in the public, okay, might be discomforting for many individuals, but it has to yield to some common good. In the US, they insist on their individual freedom and right, and they see wearing of the face mask as an imposition. They don't see the effect, the benefit to the common good. So yung individual freedom against the collective good. So in the Oriental integrity, we give focus on that. So online classes, okay, we all know that many do not have internet connection. But what is common good? What is the majority? We don't have data really actually. Okay, even in the calls for mass promotion, which could be unfair, no? But many are doing good, in fact, no? As compared to very few who are advocating for mass promotion. So we need to connect secular integrity and moral integrity, no? To highlight what is good not only for the individual, but what is good for the common good. So given that, what is remote integrity and accountability? Okay, the remote integrity and accountability is the concept that makes use of the ethics, which is doing good and better, and ethic, being intact and uncontaminated in remote educational processes, even without other people watching. And that is actually a very important element or feature of integrity, no? Even without other people watching. It also refers to cultivation of self-integrity to preserve the system integrity of remote teaching and learning. Meaning, the integrity of online classes depends on the individual integrity of the user, the self-integrity of the student, in fact. No? And self-integrity is the foundation of self-directed learning, especially in online classes. Because in online classes, in distance education, okay, a greater part of learning is really self-directed learning. It is really individual learning. But without self-integrity, self-directed learning is useless. And accountability here is being answerable or liable to the responsibility of remote learning. And we need to identify strategies, okay, and even technology that will help in ensuring remote integrity and accountability. And in fact, okay, a very popular author, no? C.S. Lewis, no? Said integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Okay? Even when no one is watching. And remote online teaching and learning or distance education needs mature, ethical students to preserve the integrity of the system. And in remote online classes, there is heightened imperative to inculcate ethics and cultivate maturity among our students. At this point, I'd like to invite the audience for reflection. Okay, if online classes, remote online classes require, okay, cohort maturity, let me ask you, no, what students level or segment can we expect maturity? Or what students level or segment are prone to cheating and fraudulent acts in online classes? So maybe at this point, I'd like to pause and maybe I'd like to ask Dr. Adege to help me. Maybe in your chat rooms, can you uh, uh, share to us your ideas? What do you think are the level or segment where we can expect maturity from our students? And who do you think are prone to cheating and fraudulent acts in online classes? Back to you, Dr. Adege, please.
This is what I mean is direct question.
Yes, from the audience.
During my time as director of student affairs, we did a lot of programs and projects, like more on the aspect of ethics. We also posted good deeds and other aspects. We recognize efforts of the students when they are honest and when they are doing things. So from those things that I learned, they are very fond of being recognized when they are doing right. But I also noticed those students with problems, they are very shy. But nevertheless, they are happy if they are given the opportunity to participate in good activities, which will make them part of a very good endeavor activities. So meaning to say,
so recognition is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe can we also ask, so recognition is very important, no? Recognition.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we also ask at random, just a quick survey among our participants, in the audience, maybe if they can chat, what, upon their reflection, no, what do they think of students' level or segment? No? Can we expect maturity based on their experience? No? If we can ask also from other audience, members of the audience, maybe they can share in their chat.
Yeah, meron dito, Dr. Amorado.
Yes,
Ang sabi
yes.
nila, academic preparedness makes students mature enough and
Okay.
become ethical, something like that.
Okay.
Meaning they need to prepare. Meron ding nagsabi dito, it's more on leadership by example, meaning if the faculty members lead by example, they could probably influence their faculty, their students.
Okay.
At meron pang isa dito, if ang gusto niya talaga is face-to-face participation in the activities, because it is from there you can really evaluate and see the outcomes and output of your student, and at the same time assess properly without delay. Tapos meron ding isa, it is a purpose-driven studies. Parang sinasabi niya, a student should learn and need to understand kung anong purpose niya bilang isang estudyante. Kasi sa isang estudyante, you need to learn, and learning, it should be with integrity and not any way or the other way around. Tapos meron pang isang nagsabi dito, Dr. Amorado, personal conversion and structural change. There is a need for student-teacher relationship to foster yung tinatawag na good leadership, and at the same time adhere to aspect of what is being communicated or walk the talk. Meron pang nagsabi dito, institution, the HEI, should lead by example by ensuring yung tinatawag na honesty. Not just posting it on the conspicuous places of the campus, but at the same time, when they talk, when they implement it, it can really be seen coming from their end that they really meant honesty. Ba, marami silang sinasabi, Dr. Amorado.
Yes, so I am hearing that also. They all refer to some traits, no? Self-directed learning, self-discipline, appreciation and recognition, of course. No? Now, I was waiting if there will be answers on age level, because some literature will tell us that maturity comes with age. So the lower the age would also mean the lower the level, elementary, high school, no? And the higher the age, college maybe graduate school, the higher the capacity for a cohort maturity. I don't know, that's one school of thought. No? Because if we correlate the maturity by age level as the vulnerability of academic fraud, I don't know if there will be correlation. Okay, because if you will notice, we have lots of cheating in college students, okay? Even without the pandemic, even in residential classes, and these are all mature already. So I think there's a gray area. In fact, I mean the gray area in terms of trying to correlate maturity and cheating. No? But that's a very important question to establish, no, integrity in online classes. No? So if I may continue, let that reflection be part of our online classes as we conduct online classes. Many schools will open come August. Okay, so let this reflection be integrated in our conduct of the online delivery of instructional materials. Okay, this one is very funny. Let me just share to you from Princeton University. This one became a controversy because some researchers there tried to do research and experimentation of 10 years data from prison inmates, and they tried to correlate integrity with facial recognition. But of course, this was stopped, I think, uh, in early 2000. But they tried to come up with a rubric by facial recognition, less trustworthy and most trustworthy, and they tried to establish what is common in terms of the physical traits. So I don't know if this will be, if this will succeed, many of our problems will be solved, in fact, no? Even in online classes. No? But just to show to you that there are efforts towards this, many are even controversial. They're trying to connect to the physical traits naman, which could invite a lot of ethical problems. No? But just to flash to you that these are the efforts in the US. What are the trends in remote academic fraud and cheating in online classes as per literature? No? As per literature. No? Okay, of course, we are all familiar with the so-called online identity fraud, which is not just being done in classes, but even in the credit cards, even in your other websites. But for online classes, online identity fraud is referring to the so-called identity spoofing. Root word is spoof. Okay, identity spoofing. Okay, some examples of identity spoofing are the two other trends. No, on a smaller scale, so-called impersonation. Okay, impersonation means somebody is doing the assignment for you, especially in modular mode. No? Nagpapadala ng mga exams yung eskwelahan, tapos hindi mo alam kung sumasagot ay ang mga magulang. Okay? Others is, we also have online assignments. You don't know if the one responding to the assignments are the students themselves or pwede nilang ipasa sa iba. No? So on a smaller scale, it's called impersonation. On a larger scale, it's called surrogacy. Okay? Meaning, it's not just one task or one exam or one assignment. It's the entire transaction in the online class. Somebody is attending the class for the student. Okay, surrogacy, and it became for a time it became a controversy in the US. No, you don't know who enrolled in your online program. You thought it was a student, especially because there's not much video conferencing. If you're doing a lot of asynchronous sessions, your problem is surrogacy. You don't know who is responding to your questions. That's surrogacy. You also have problems with outsourced assignments. Okay, padala ka na assignment, pwede niya ipasa sa iba for a fee maybe. Plagiarism is on the rise in online classes. It's easy to detect plagiarism, no? Because normally with technology, students will just do copy and paste without reading. So they don't know when they copy and paste, they also copy the authors. Okay, the names, the citations. Okay, so you will notice for example, you require them to submit to do an essay. You will notice if it's copied and pasted because a paragraph will contain several citations, and these citations are not found in their references. So you will really detect that it's really copied and pasted. No? So plagiarism. Okay, or during exams they have call a friend or even consult Google. So these are the trends in remote academic fraud. No? And cheating in online classes. No? Luckily, there are many measures to reduce or mitigate academic fraud and cheating in online classes based on the experiences from literature in the US. No? One, of course, we need explicit integrity policy and honor code in the school and in your online class. In fact, it would be helpful that in your learning materials or modules or manuals, the first chapter or the first pages should discuss about integrity and should emphasize that if you are caught cheating, you will be dealt with accordingly. So be very strict already by declaration. And many teachers have this uncanny knack of detection and validation. So we have to take stock of them. I think we challenge all teachers. For many years of teaching, this is the time to make use of your guts. No? I think this one is cheating. No? One teacher shared to me, no? Online in his online class, he has one student who always perfected all of his exams, but does not participate in the online class. Does not participate in online class. So, paano daw nagiging na 100% na lahat ng exam? At duda niya, ano to, nandadaya to. Okay? So, that could be an example of the uncanny knack of detection and validation. Well, another technique is referencing to previous work. No? If you will notice, a student's performance, you can always refer back to his or her previous work. Okay? It's just like checking the thesis or dissertation. Suddenly, 2 or 3 paragraphs had good English, but previous paragraph poor English. Okay, and then in online classes, it's suggested that we need to use of more performance tasks, no, than MCQs or FCQs or forced choice questions. Okay, apparently, multiple choice questions or forced choice questions are the most vulnerable to cheating in online classes. Okay, that's why many of those who use MCQs or FCQs, they use time feature. Or the strategy is that if you have to use MCQ or FCQ, of course, do not give them in advance. So if you have an actual exam online, you have to use one MCQ or one FCQ at a time so that the students won't have idea of the next MCQ questions or FCQ questions. If you have to use the MCQ or FCQ, no, especially for programs with licensure examinations. But just take note that in online classes, MCQs or FCQs are the most vulnerable. No? One way of reducing is also the use of HATS questions. No? Something like analytical or problem solving. Okay, especially in essays. No, while
it's 11 o'clock.
While we know that essays are also vulnerable, but if you require students to respond to an essay question that comes from a reading, for example, of course they cannot outsource reading. No? They cannot tell their parents, Dad, Mom, can you answer my essay? But before you answer the essay, please read the book. They cannot do that also. No? Or the use of varied question types, or the use of synchronous and time tools. The problem is, our situation in the Philippines, we cannot afford to always hold synchronous sessions, especially video conferencing. Or the use of unspoofable technology. Okay, very helpful in online classes, the video chat and online face-to-face, meaning individual video conference. But again, we are constrained by our internet connection among our students. Or use of blended, no, with face-to-face sessions. So hopefully, instructional delivery done online, but exams to be done residential. Hopefully. But again, we are constrained and limited by the prohibition on residential F2F examinations. Recorded short videos for upload, pwede rin naman yun. So you require a student to prepare responding to assignments, but the assignment should be in the form of recorded short video. Or use of technology to fight abuse of technology. No? In the US, they make use of lockdown browsers or digital proctoring. I learned from our law school, no, how do they do essays? They do the hand proctoring techniques, meaning yung kamay ng estudyante nakikita through the webcam. So free ang kanyang mga kamay, walang sa cellphone, walang gagamit na ibang browsers. But this one will require a lot of technology, no, for hand proctoring techniques. Okay. In the US, for a time, the online frauds triggered a congressional hearing, no? And the US Department of Education shared a testimony that the management of distance education programs really pose a big challenge, no? Because of limited or no physical presence to verify the student's identity or attendance. Okay, this is because of aspects of distance education that take place through the internet. Students are not required to present themselves in person at any point. So that's the problem with pure online or pure distance education. Okay, to curtail online academic frauds, the students are required to do face-to-face to make sure they are who they say they are. But because of our quarantine conditions, how do we ensure face-to-face with our students? Okay, and some suggestions are recommending that let's do a digital F2F or digital face-to-face individualized. Okay, because if you do that by group, then you will have sudden internet interruption. So I don't know if that will work. Digital F2F, individual digital F2F. No? Some pedagogical principles for remote integrity and accountability. All online education is remote learning, but not all remote learning is online education, especially for those without internet connection. That is why we had the modular mode as one of the options. And remote online education is not equal to video conferencing. It is more than just video conferencing. Many of the problems encountered by the schools, okay, and subject to complaints of a lot of students is that they always do video conferencing almost every day. So meaning online classes are even worse than the residential classes. They always do video conferencing every day. Some are doing that during the dawn periods, no, to avoid internet traffic. Remote online education is not intended for synchronicity of learning. In fact, remote online education was created for asynchronous learning, and online classes are not supposed to be treated like fixed time classes. But to avoid competition and conflict of schedules in the Philippines, we are forced to put time, fixed time, because many teachers are conflicting with their schedules. No wonder the UP Open University, okay, has a very strict admission of students in their online classes. One, to meet the demands of the cohort maturity, and second, the demands of technology. And if you will notice, not all courses are offered in UP online Open University. Maybe we have to reflect on this. Not all courses really, not all subjects can be taught online. And the emerging trends now are shared by many teachers. Math is difficult to be taught online. So let's reflect on that. Now let's reflect on that. Calculus, computations would be very difficult online. So since it is difficult and students want to pass, where do they resort to? They cheat. They will employ impersonification or surrogacy. They will ask adults to solve for them and submit the solved problems. And the international practice of remote online learning is done with more asynchronous interactions, giving more premium to self-paced learning. Synchronous sessions usually reserved for assessments, but some performance assessments can be done asynchronously. Remote online education requires more time to prepare, requires technology to deliver, and demands more efforts for preparation and execution. Technology can make or break the integrity of remote teaching and learning, and you need to use technology properly. And this is part of systems integrity. We also need to use a lot of authentic assessment to motivate students and reduce student cheating in online classes and examinations. And MCQs and FCQs are not part of the authentic assessments. Students are also less likely to cheat when they are encouraged to demonstrate learning in ways that are most authentic to them. Therefore, the key here is motivation. The key here is motivation. Okay. Authentic assessments are useful in remote integrity and accountability. They help reduce online cheating and academic fraud. As to cite a very important perspective here, authentic assessment consists of engaging and worthy problems or questions of importance in which students must use knowledge to fashion performances effectively and creatively. Since we are constrained for now against holding F2F or residential mode for blended learning, and B, we are also constrained against residential validation of virtual identity, and C, we're also constrained, okay, that online assessments are not foolproof. What can be done? Okay, first, we need to gauge student performance through assessment spread, okay, meaning entirety of online participation over time. That's why online classes should not focus on student attendance, okay, but should give more premium to student participation over time. That is called assessment spread. Let us not just rely on one or two or three or four exams. Let's also give premium to the participation of students in all of the school activities online. And if possible, make use of only of authentic assessments as final assessment. If necessary, conduct individual video F2F assessments if time allows. But again, it all depends on a lot of availability and connectivity. Cheating in online classes puts to waste the time and effort of the teachers. So let us help prevent this. No? Kawawa na may mga guro. No? In Manila, we heard, ang uso ngayon is theft of recorded videos. When teachers record their videos, their lecture videos, tomorrow they will find out that their videos are already placed in the YouTube without their permission. Without their permission. So again, let us help prevent this. No? What teachers should realize, with academic fraud, with students cheating online, all your efforts will be wasted. All your efforts will just be put to naught. No? At the same time, we are properly cautioned of the massive distress to all of us, especially to our students, because of the pandemic pressure. Thus, we need to demonstrate leniency. Everyone is adjusting to the new normal. Okay, we are aware of CHED COVID advisories number 6 and number 7. We need to provide expanded opportunities for students by giving more chances to cope up. This is not the time to impose unyielding rigidity. Biglang bagsak. Okay? Take note that integrity is better than rigidity. Okay? But we also need to make remote online classes enjoyable, delightful, and memorable for our students. Provide breathing space for students by giving more time to process, reflect on learning than complying with documentary requirements. Okay? We all know and we have observed not all teachers are trained in remote teaching and learning. The same with students as well. So we are adjusting together with our students. And we need to conduct meaningful online classes. If students find online classes meaningful, they do not need to cheat. Okay? They do not need to resort to academic fraud. With the country's upsurge experience in remote online education, there is a need to generate empirical data and create or craft appropriate policy reforms as part of HEI's Learning Opportunity Continuity Plan. Okay? CHED or CHEDROS can take the lead in convening a research team, okay, which is similar to CHED's OER initiative, and document academic frauds and cheating online and what HEIs are doing. In the US, they have research already about online cheating, not yet in the Philippines. Or if there are, maybe on a small scale or kanya-kanya, no, mga theses or dissertations, but I think CHED can take the lead on this, no, to trigger a systematic, conscious, to convene a team, no, research team, to find out how we are doing, no, in our online classes. No? And we also need to survey if our students are indeed learning in the remote online classes, and this is part of integrity of the system or systems integrity. Or HEI's institutional researches or students' thesis dissertations can give focus on academic frauds and cheating online practices in the Philippines. Okay, it's good to build a database. We don't have that yet, as per literature. The CHED's COVID advisories on leniency, especially CHED advisory number 6 and number 7, cannot be construed to include cheaters in online classes. I hope that these are not part of the CHED's contemplation of the advisories for leniency. We give leniency to those students who are struggling and coping up. Okay, that's why we in OBE we have to provide expanded opportunities of learning. Okay, meaning operationally it only means giving more chances. Okay, giving more opportunities, giving more tasks, giving more avenues for the students to keep up and cope up. But that should not include cheaters in online classes. And there is a need to integrate and institutionalize remote integrity and accountability to remote and teaching learning programs. Please do not leave students' conduct behind. Together with technology, there is a need to bring integrity and accountability in the virtual world. So maganda sana kasi lahat ng mga eskwelahan puro nag-online ngayon. Pero ako personally, kinakabahan din kasi ang pinag-uusapan, puro remote teaching and learning. Hindi pinag-uusapan ang integridad ng mga sistemang to. Ang integridad ng mga users, ng mga guro at ng mga estudyante. Okay? So let us not forget and leave behind our students' conduct in using of the technology. Okay? Why is this important? Okay? Because pedagogical integrity actually makes or breaks our nation's integrity. So why is that? No? In fact, we are aghast and angered with so much anomaly and irregularity in government. Corruption in government begins with corruption in the classrooms, in classes, including online classes. Ngayon, galit tayo sa nangyayari sa PhilHealth. Okay? Lagi nangagalit tayo sa customs, corruption in government. But hindi naman natin sinisilip ang mga pandaraya sa mga eskwelahan o lalo na sa online classes. And I'd like to drive home the point that there is a profound connection between the integrity in the class, be it residential or virtual, and the integrity of the country. And the profound connection lies in the answer to this nagging question. Why do we have so much corrupt people in government and many are involved in national scandals despite their formative years in schools? Despite their formative years in schools. Now, because of the pervasiveness of academic fraud and cheating in online classes, what kind of formation do our students undergo? It's difficult, no, to do formative or formation programs for students online. So the answer there provides the connection, the profound connection. Okay. This is the perennial awkwardness. What if cheaters in class become teachers or professionals or government officials? What if the cheaters in class pass their courses, even qualify as outstanding graduates? Our students are the country's future. Therefore, their integrity at present shapes the integrity of the future. Systems integrity of the remote online classes needs culture of integrity, referring to good conduct, good students, and good citizens. Therefore, schools can help in expanding the space for integrity by reducing the space for anomaly in remote online classes. If we are saying in the call of CHED on leniency, and if we respond to the mandate of OBE to provide expanded opportunity, in integrity, we also call for expanding the space for integrity. Okay, to help reduce the space for anomaly in remote online classes. And I think this is my last slide. Okay, again, this is very important because pedagogical integrity makes or breaks our nation's integrity. We are in the period of embracing the necessity to be adept in using technology. And as I said previously, let's use technology to fight the abuse of technology. And if I may quote two very important perspectives here, technology will never replace teachers, but teachers who use technology will replace those who do not. And technology will never replace great teachers, but in the hands of great teachers, it is also transformational. So thank you very much and good luck. Okay, back to you, Dr. Dege.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amorado. You know, when I look at the chat space, I noticed that many of them, not all, agreed with what you presented. But they also have some questions, like for instance, yes, we understand that integrity and accountability should be there. But given the fact that we need to have performance or output and problems like timeline and connectivity, what piece of advice can you give to us in order that we can really do those things that you presented a while ago without compromising our work and our timeline?
Yes, agree. No? So that's why the concept of flexible and blended mode of delivery is evolving. In the literature, if you have to be very strict about it, it only means basically combining residential and distance ed techniques. No? But now it's not necessarily that. No, meaning you have to give more options of different options for modalities. Okay, we all are aware of the constraint in the internet. That's why we also make use of other modes. No, karamihan ng ating mga estudyante gumagamit ng mobile data, and mobile data can function in the learning management systems in asynchronous sessions, and mobile data cannot function in video conferencing. So do away with, do less and less and less of video conferencing. So that's one. I think we have to go back to the OBE's mandate, okay, of expanding opportunities for learning. Meaning, if a student will find it very difficult to pass for this particular task, wag agad ibabagsak. Okay, wag agad ibabagsak. No? Kung pwede nga, i-incomplete na muna kung talagang final grade na. No? To provide expanded learning opportunity. But syempre, kung nahuli natin nag-cheat yan, then impose the disciplinary measure. Kung nahuli nag-cheat. Okay? Now, I understand the modular option invites a lot of logistical problems, especially of monitoring. Of all the modalities, the most difficult to monitor is the modular option. But I understand, especially that is dominant in the basic education. Now, the students will argue that they are only using mobile data, and they keep on loading for mobile data, and then sometimes if they will resort to the modular option, the transportation cost will also increase, going to the school to pick up and submit your assignment. So we are even telling the parents, no, maybe if you will have to do estimation, baka mas mahal pa ang mobile data or pagbibiyahe, transportation costs. So baka it's time to invest in internet and computers. But we are aware of the minsan pumapalya internet. That's why you have alternative modes of modalities. No? Pag pumalya ang LMS, nag-downtime ang internet, at least make use of the text or group chat or phone calls as supplement, as alternative. And in terms of assessment, make use of assessment spread. Wag lang isang style of assessment to establish, no, the participation of the students. No? So these are not cast on stones. No? We need, dahil first time natin to nagkaroon ng ganitong pandemya, this is the time to explore and check your experience, check if it works or not. And that's why I'm suggesting, we under the leadership of CHED, if CHED can convene a research team to document and find out what schools are doing, okay, to respond to the challenges of the online classes now.
Yeah, we will take note of that, Dr. Amorado. Here's another question. Based on the presentation, it is as if that HEIs or schools should invest on training their student to adapt with this new modality and be able to understand the concept of delivering quality education. And at the same time, since they were caught flat-footed regarding on the policies, is there a need for them to also review their policies so that they can also adapt on this particular situation?
Yeah, good, very good insight there. No? Difficult, but I think we have to do that. No? Let me cite some data. No? 3 weeks ago, I heard some report. No? In Manila, 400 schools already closed. I think I heard that from Chairman Davao. No? 400 schools closed. In Davao, in Region 11, 15 schools closed already. And almost all of these schools closed One, the first reason is that, of course, enrollment problem. And secondly, also the reason is that they were not prepared to face the pandemic. What does that mean that they're not prepared? They did not have LMS. They did not have learning management systems even before the pandemic. They did not invest in online classes. So that's one. One way to prepare us and cope up with this pandemic is to, of course, invest really on these things. And as we invest also, we need to preserve the integrity of the technology. Because if we don't also invest in shaping, informing, educating the users, the students, on how to properly use the technology, then it will also be useless. The technology will only be used for abuse. I was there in the US at the time when the MOOCs, the open source technology, became a controversy, a national controversy, a national scandal in the US kasi naging online diploma mill, no? Imagine during that time I heard you can get your doctoral degree in 2 years, you can even your MBA in just 6 months or 5 months, no? Kaya bumagsak yung mga MOOCs, no? Kaya nagkaroon ng congressional hearing. All of these nabisto yung mga online frauds, mga academic frauds. And the empirical data I showed to you actually came from that experience. So after that, they fixed the system, they put in the necessary technological protection, at ngayon, nag-flourish na uli ang MOOC sa US, sa Korea, sa Taiwan. Okay? With all of these incentives and protective mechanisms. So tingin ko wala tayong choice. We just hope and pray that the pandemic will end soon. But again, what if another pandemic comes out? So this should be part of the direction of the schools. We have to prepare also. I think online technology will still be there and will still be useful for us.
Yeah. You also made mention of mature and ethical students. This is actually a very challenging hypothesis, not only for faculty members, but even for HEIs. With limited resources, and at the same time, there are few experts on this aspect that can help mold these particular students to become mature and ethical. And in the other way around is that they are actually molded first in their families. That is a challenge that they are having a hard time. Can you give piece of advice on this one, based on literature and based on what you did on some studies that you conducted? You know that there are a lot of things happening.
Agree. That's very, very true, no? Kaya tayo nagka-problema. That's why we have so much corrupt people in government. That's why. Because I think personally, the schools fail in that aspect of ensuring students, graduates, even alumni who value good conduct and integrity. To the question, you know, that's the profound connection. That's why schools cannot really, because schools are very powerful in shaping the students. So therefore, we have to make good in developing, inculcating, cultivating good conduct and integrity. No? If you will notice, ang mga eskwelahan kapag board exam top-notchers, di ba, nag-uunahan sa pag-claim ng mga top-notcher, bar top-notcher, successful people. Pero yung mga kurakot sa gobyerno, did we ever ask saan sila nag-aral nung kanilang, o saan sila nagtapos? Did we ever ask about that? I think if the schools enjoy successful or success there, we should also make schools accountable of their graduates and alumni. I agree, very idealistic, very difficult, maraming masasaktan, maraming masasagasaan. I agree with that. And I also agree, nagsimula lahat yan sa pamilya. Because we have 6 years, 7 years, formative years in the family. Pero yung ating mga magulang, nag-aral din naman yan. So, they also underwent schooling. No? So, it's difficult, but it has to be done, I think. So, that's why even in remote teaching and learning, kaya personally, kinakabahan ako kasi ang pinagtuturo lang ay paanong gumawa ng RTL, mga modules and everything. Pero we forget users' conduct, no, and integrity on the proper use of the technology. That's part of the integrity.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Amorado. Well, I have one observation. When my daughter participated in online class, she seems to be very bored. But
Yes.
when one particular faculty member initiated a motivated approach on allowing them to participate actual on problem solving, she is very participative and very happy that she was given the chance to participate, even some of her classmates. So I agree with you on the word motivation. Can you expound more on this one?
Very good. Yeah. On literature, one of the techniques to help reduce online cheating or academic fraud is to make online classes meaningful and enjoyable for the students. Because if the students will find it delightful and enjoyable, or they find it interesting in kanilang online class, they will not anymore resort to other things. No? Kasi they enjoy it na. When they enjoy, they do it voluntarily. So it's also a challenge for teachers, no, in terms of the skill in using technology and the skill in teaching in online classes. When teachers are boring or make very difficult, no, in teaching and make it very difficult for students, the students will resort to many mysterious things, no, actually, because they don't find meaningful participation there. No? So in fact, one of the techniques really to help reduce academic fraud is to make online teaching participative and very enjoyable. On how to do that, yung mga lecturers natin on RTL, sila nakakaalam yan. Yun ang kanilang magandang focus dyan.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dr. Amorado. You made mention also of to conduct individual video assessment face-to-face, but not all the time. It's just in a final assessment. It's one thing intriguing, but at the same time, it is very challenging to faculty members.
Yeah.
Can you expound more on that aspect? They are asking questions on that, and they are thankful that you presented that approach.
Yes. So, because apparently, video conferencing is an unspoofable technique. When you say unspoofable, it cannot be replicated or spoof. No, in spoof, it cannot be surrogated or impersonified, no, kasi live siya, no. But the problem is with video conferencing, internet connection, no? I mean, not all students have access to good internet. Even the mobile data will find it difficult for internet connection. So I've learned in the when I had my online class, one of my online classes in the US, the entire semester we had asynchronous learning and sessions. I only had one video conference during my defense of the final paper, and I was just alone and facing 10 panelists. So individual video face-to-face is a very good unspoofable technique to reduce academic fraud. But you cannot do that every day, and you cannot do that to all of your students individually. If you have 50 students, a teacher cannot afford to have individual video F2F. Okay? Mahirap yun. No? Normally, video conferencing, individual or group, is done as a final assessment. Okay? To replace, no, to serve as a virtual replacement of the residential F2F. So the challenge is before the final assessment. What will you do before the final assessment? Then you have a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. But many of the problems is that many teachers only make use of synchronous sessions. I think one of the skills that still inadequate now is how teachers can successfully, meaningfully utilize asynchronous sessions. Okay? Normally, we just give reading assignments. But after that, what? What do we do with reading assignments? It all depends on the features of your learning management system. If your LMS doesn't have a feature of student interaction online, okay, then it will be difficult. For example, many programs online used are just group chat or email, but there's no interaction online there. Okay, very rare, very difficult. So asynchronous learning, okay, meaning not simultaneously in time and space. If you are able to do that properly, successfully, then you can reserve your individual video F2F as final assessment, a combination of that. The worst thing for online classes is when you do daily or almost every day video conference. That's the worst thing. Okay. One, that's not the purpose of online classes. Second, it does not promote self-directed learning, which is again not the purpose of online classes. Third, we have a very poor internet connection in the Philippines. So unfair to our students also. So those are the three inputs there.
Yeah, the inputs you had given, Dr. Amorado, helped us to think even more that teachers should be creative, but at the same time, HEI should be supportive to their faculty members so that they will be prepared, not because of the pandemic, but because of quality education. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, agree, surely. And the pandemic only brings out, highlighted our problems in the HEIs. Diba? Lalo lang na nabigyan na ipalabas yung mga problema ng mga eskwelahan through the pandemic.
You know what, firsthand, we can really feel and we can see that what you presented, the literatures, and even your work of art, it is a combination of your experience when you were writing your dissertation as well as of your books, which became famous nationally and even internationally. And at the same time, the literatures that you provided are quite helpful. Although in the aspect of research, it can still be recapitulated. There might be a different approach in that aspect. But you are just saying that it is happening and it is a challenge to CHED, it is a challenge to HEIs, to the faculty members. And if they heard the challenge, somebody should come out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to highlight that, Cesar, no, kasi iba ang CHED ngayon, especially CHED 11, we are initiating the project right? So
Yes.
for the open educational resources, if there's a parallel group that you can organize also to look into the experiences of HEIs in conducting online classes, no, including online frauds, to document our database. So we have Philippine data. Kasi the literature I shared are actually Western, no? Because they have the experience already. And these are the trends based on their empirical data. We don't have that in the Philippines yet. I mean, yes. I might be mistaken, but I've searched and I know the literature, I know the field. There's not much data on that. We have a lot of data on corruption in government, but we don't have data on corruption in schools. So yun ang magandang pag-uusapan. Okay. So I know hope CHED can convene really a team for that.
Noted dyan, Dr. Amorado. Pwede ka kasing maging leader dyan. Part ng team. So nevertheless, you presented it well. Even if a few asked some questions, but if you will just read the chat space, they agree with you and they like your presentations, and you covered almost everything that no question can be asked anymore because all those things are true. And we thank you for that one. If you can only hear the clapping of the hands, I know you will be very glad that you presented a very good hypothesis, if not an actual situations, not only in Davao City, but in the entire nation of the Republic of the Philippines. Thank you very much.
And I will gladly share my materials to all the participants through the CHED.
Yeah, actually yun ang sunod ko sana ng question. Okay
Sure.
lang ba sila na mag-email sa iyo personally and can ask the presentation as well as other aspects that you know of?
So in my last slide a while ago, I had my email address there, but I will also share my materials to CHED, and the CHED will be the one to can also disseminate this.
Very well, Dr. Amorado. Thank you very much and kudos to you. So at least at this juncture, I would like to call one of our colleagues, our newly designated Supervising Education Program Specialist, to award the e-certificates of recognition to our esteemed speaker, and at the same time to give the closing remarks. Again, once again, Dr. Amorado, my highest regard to you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Christopher Iyo O. Pulido.
And the webinars can only lead us the way, but we have to walk through it. Our webinar's topic today addresses the long-standing concern of CHED when remote, online, and distance education is implemented. That is why distance education, according to CMO number 27 series of 2005, or the policies and guidelines for distance education, is not for all HEIs. There are qualifications that institutions need to have. However, in the age of internationalization and this COVID-2019 pandemic, these former alternative modes of learning have become the norm, new normal as they call it, and CHED together with the higher education institutions must be up for it and develop standards ensuring the integrity of the assessment of students, learners, as they call it in DepEd, is imperative, and that everyone are accountable in the process. Not just the students, but the institution, and more importantly, the CHED, are also accountable. Everyone must do their part in this very critical period of shift in the delivery of higher education. This month of August, we are celebrating the ASEAN month. In this month, in 1967, the ASEAN was founded with the Philippines as one of the 5 founding members. Today, ASEAN is the 5th largest economy in the world. Our theme for this year is Cohesive and Responsive ASEAN, chaired by Vietnam. So earlier, nakita ninyo yung what do you call this, yung video before Dr. Amorado started his talk. But I'm very delighted today to show with you kasi we just received this morning the approval from the Higher Education Development Fund yung prices ng Open Educational Resources Development Competition. So asensya na kayo but I'm really tempted to show you this kasi last time hindi namin to naipakita eh. So yung winners ng Open Educational Resources or OER Development Competition are as follows. First prize is 20,000 pesos plus 5,000 pesos kasi kasi they will be showcased in a series of webinar on August 28 yung first, second, and third prizes. Second prize is 15,000 plus 5,000 pesos honorarium. Third prize, 10,000 pesos plus 5,000 pesos honorarium for the webinar, and consolation prizes of 5,000 pesos each for the next 3 entries. So, as you have noticed, our hashtags are hashtag we are ASEAN and hashtag ASEAN at 53. Hence, we are asking your respective institutions to support the celebration of the ASEAN month in the same way that you have supported the series of webinars of CHED Region 11. At this point, let me present the certificate of recognition to our resource speaker. This certificate of recognition is hereby awarded to Dr. Ronnie V. Amorado, for generously sharing his expertise and time as resource person during the conduct of the CHED 11 webinar number 9 with the topic Remote Integrity and Accountability. Among the administrators and faculty of higher education institutions in Region 11, held on August 11, 2020 via Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube live streaming, issued this 11th day of August 2020. So on behalf of the Commission, through our Regional Director, Dr. Maricar R. Casquejo, and our Chairman, Dr. J. Prospero de Vera, we would like to thank you, our resource speaker, Dr. Ronnie Amorado, for sharing with us your knowledge and wisdom on the topic at hand. And you, our loyal webinarians, thank you for your usual support and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are reminding everyone to fill up the post-evaluation. You have at least 2 hours after the session and will end so that you'll be given an e-certificate. Once again, thank you very much. And I hope to see you once again in the coming webinars. There will be plenty. Just wait for it. We will be posting it. This is your MC, Dr. Cesar A. Adige IV, Education Supervisor 2 of CHEDRO 11, temporarily signing off. Good morning.